babies cry, watch them grow. They learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah. And I think to myself, I think to myself, oh, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh yeah, so yeah. Thank you. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. That was for Rick right there. Thank you.
This wife walks into the kitchen and she stumbles on her husband who is stalking around with a fly swatter. She says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm killing flies. I'm hunting flies." She goes, "Oh, okay, you having any luck?" He says, "Yes, I've killed 5, 3 males and 2 females." She said, "And you can tell the difference how?" He goes, "Well, 3 were on a beer can, 2 were on the phone." So in case you're wondering. So good morning. The art of inclusion. We communicate openly with each other in an atmosphere of collaboration and inclusion. The July topics for this month were rather difficult for some of the ministers. We have a minister listserv, an email service that all the ministers in the CSL organization, most of them are connected with, and we get on there and we talk to each other and we ask ideas and suggestions, and it's really a nice way to stay connected with what's happening with other ministers. But the topics this month were kind of a little more difficult to kind of bring messages with. And so the service was rather active and lively, to say the least. But today's topic actually is a little more simple, and I'm so glad that I get to do this one, because I think collaboration and inclusion works really well with who we are in our philosophy of New Thought, and even the whole idea of oneness, of unity, and of being a spiritual family. Some of my message will be about our spiritual family and what we are above the mundane, above this physical experience, because the spiritual family that we're made of is the light and the essence of the Creator. And so all of that in itself, since we are just one, it's what's within us, we already have that immediate connection of oneness and of collaboration and inclusion because of that, but it's up on a much higher level, another space. So how do we do that down here on this level? Well, inclusion is, of course, including others with us or being included with others. Collaboration is then working together with others to create something, to accomplish something together and in harmony. As spiritual beings having a human experience, we like to describe ourselves that way sometimes, we come together for a whole lot of reasons. We're connected for a whole lot of reasons. Some people put a whole lot of titles on why we're connected. But in love, in trust, with an open heart, in unity and oneness, we do come together and we practice inclusion and collaboration a lot of times without even realizing it. It's a part of our chemistry, actually, in our architecture. Every day we wake up, and some of us wake up with looking at the day, being grateful for what has been. I like to say thank you for a good night's sleep. We're grateful for what's going to happen in the day coming forward. There are some people that look at the whole day as a new kind of whiteboard. Everything's clear and clean. They're going to create the best day they can going forward every moment. There are some people that wake up and never give it a second thought. It's all just whatever unfolds is good. And then they're the ones who wake up and go, ugh, shush. Another day. Here we go. So I won't ask which one you are. But it all comes down to the same thing. However we described it, however we act it out, we look at our day and we are unconsciously creating who we're going to interact with, how we're going to connect without even thinking about it. In a lot of ways it happens. We're thinking unconsciously of how we're going to collaborate with people because we want things to work out the best for us. And there are those who look at the bigger picture and how are things going to work out the best for a team or for a whole group of people. So all of that's going on actually all the time, unconsciously. But yes, we do make our plans, we make our vision boards, and we make our dreams, and we look forward to those things. But it's a whole lot that goes on unconsciously as well. Our spiritual truth, which was the spiritual truth of the quote that we had for this week, was from Dr. Holmes. Dr. Ernest Holmes reads, "God is all there is. God includes everything, all possibility, and all action. For spirit is the indivisible essence and substance of all form." Yes? Yes. Yes. Indivisible essence. It does not break down or separate. God does not cut the umbilical cord. Yes, it's an odd statement, and I've used it before, but it's true. We are connected to that source of creation always and forever. We teach that the spiritual truth is that there is no separation in the divine, as I said. God includes absolutely everything and everyone. We open our prayer a lot of times with the wording that says, there is only one life. That life is God. That life is my life now. And we really, truly believe that. As practitioners, it's part of our daily experience, our life, the way we see life. But how is that really? If God or Spirit, and all the names that we want to call the divine, creative source, universe, light, all of that, if it truly moves and has its being in everything that it creates, and it expresses through everything that it creates, then we really are truly one. We are one of the Creator source. We're not just one with God, because we don't stand next to God. We are of God, because we are made of it and from it and connected it. So I personally see a real difference in those two words and the meaning of those phrases. So in my wording, I'm always saying we are of that God, of that Creator source. So does that make sense? Yes. Yes? No? Okay, good. Good. Great. Our spiritual work then is to bring the truth of unity and oneness forth in our lives. So how do we really do that to include everyone? How do we expand our awareness, our knowledge, and our hearts to really break through all of the different kinds of barriers out there between cultures and political parties and races and neighborhoods and friends, and just all of the ways that we can make up to separate ourselves from people? So I want to bring a couple different ideas about that. A lot of interesting things in the news this week. Every week. Sorry. Senator John McCain gave a very good speech this week. Love him or hate him, he gave a good speech this week. And he gave it to the Senate floor in a time where he was expressing that it was time to stop playing small, to stop being separate, and to start working together. For both sides of the aisle to be more inclusive and collaborative on the issues that matter to the people and not so much the party. I like to leave politics out of Sunday morning. I like this to be our free zone and space of that. But I really have to say that he touched me this week. And like I say, love him or hate him, I took his speech apart and I took out some of the sentences, and I'm going to put these sentences together for you, and it almost sounds like a spiritual covenant. So let me read it to you this way. He used the word tribal for one thing that caught my attention, because that really brought up an image of separation. So he said, it's very fair to acknowledge that both sides of the aisle have been doing this separation piece, so we're not blaming either side. And then he started to say how important it is to rely on humility, on our need to cooperate, on our dependence on each other to learn how to trust each other again and to do better to serve the people who elected us. Let's trust each other. Let's return to regular order. What have we got to lose by trying to work together to find those solutions? We're not getting much done apart. There's greater satisfaction in respecting our differences, but not letting them prevent agreements that don't require abandonment of core principles, agreements made in good faith that help improve lives and protect the American people. Wow. Yeah. Humility, cooperation, dependence on each other, trusting each other. What have we got to lose by trying to work together to find solutions? Respecting our differences instead of letting them stop us from serving others in good faith. I was touched. Trust. At the Ken Garff Hyundai shop downtown, they have a sign for everyone to see as the men go out into the work area. And the sign says, a team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. That's how we come together. We describe our organization as a center that is inclusive. All are welcomed here, as the song says, and we talk about it in our vision statement. And the introduction to the Ernest Holmes book, Essential Ernest, I've got here a little piece I want to talk about. It states that Ernest Holmes was really pleased that his audience came from all walks of life. And he encouraged them to take what they learned from him back to their own house of worship to enhance their experience of the spiritual path that they were already on. Dr. Holmes did not want to create something new and different that pulled people away from what they were already involved in. He didn't have to do that. This philosophy of science of mind, or religious science that we call it, came together from so many other faiths and religions, the golden thread that really ran through everything. That was the idea that this originated from. So he wanted to collaborate with what was already going on the path of someone's faith, but what he could add was to make where they were in their own faith deeper, richer, and wider. And that would make their receiving of the good of God more. So people from all walks of life will walk into our lives and into this center, and it's our responsibility personally and collectively to guide, to instruct, and to be open to learn from them so that we can all be the best members of this center and of all society, right? That's good. We live in a reciprocal universe, so what we give to others, we can receive back from them. Then we can all be the best we can be. Dr. Holmes was inclusive of men and women in clergy. What I learned recently was that this religious science denomination, which what we called it before, it was the Centers for Spiritual Living, was among the first in America to license and ordain women into ministry. Yeah. He was, yay! What? Yes. Yes.
He was one of the first.
Yep. Dr. Holmes was also inclusive of race. East Los Angeles Church of Religious Science was led by Reverend J. Arthur Twine, an African American. Now, this was 1945. Some people complained. The Science of Mind magazine used to list all the churches in the magazine so you could see where they are. In June of 1945, in that issue, the magazine itself made a decision without talking to Dr. Holmes, and they moved that church's listing to the end of the list with a new designation, colored. Oh, your response is going to be... I want to read to you what Dr. Holmes did about that. Oh boy, I heard that. Oh boy. Yeah. You're funny. Dr. Holmes arranged with his friend, Reverend Twine, to go there and speak. To a hushed, packed house, he began. I've been told that, oh, thank you. Get these old eyes going. I have been told that too many non-Caucasians attend these lectures. True, there are Caucasians and non-Caucasians in this congregation. But this we must affirm. We are all children of one living God, one life that permeates all without exception. one intelligence that governs all. And most important, every man and woman who abides in the universe is a significant entity in the one universal consciousness. Our doors will forever be open. Whoever you are, be proud. You are a divine idea in the mind of God. The magazine immediately reverted to the way it had been. Somebody had briefly bowed to the segregationist conventions of the day, only to be reminded that Ernest's teachings are anything but conventional, and they're not exclusive. So he took care of that one. Every single thing that separates me from another human being separates me from the good of God and my divine nature. Every judgment separates me from others and therefore blocks my ability to receive. Practicing the presence of spirit reunites me with others, and this is to be my daily practice. I grew up feeling very isolated from people. I wasn't told that specifically, but it was the implication that was presented to me, and my young mind ran with it like we do as kids. So I created my own little separation theory as a child, as a teenager actually, all the way. And I judged myself as less than. I judged others as not wanting to be around me. And then I just began to judge the world that there was a lot of wrong everywhere. And that was kind of my own personal philosophy from that. I encased myself in a belief of separation that I was not able to receive love or good. Some children will do that. I wasn't sure that there was anything out there to receive. I just wasn't part of that group or class of people as I had judged and separated it. So sometimes you get into that space and you can create your own bubble, and then you lose sight of what else is out there. You can only see what's right in front of you. And I had separated myself from God. I had separated myself from any good that could come. Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know, especially when we're little. But eventually I found my way out. I found my way out of the bubble. I found the light and the essence that's within. I found that there was love within me first, and that opened up my connection. I like to think that it found me and woke me up and called me out of that bubble so it could dissipate. And then I found and realized this connection to a world that I didn't even really know existed. But we have to welcome it. And then it speaks to us. And then all these little lights and hearts wake up. And then you can love the world. And then I found out the world was okay. Despite what is on the news, the world's okay. And we're connected in so many other ways than what it appears like out there on the television. I didn't have television for a long time, and I know that some people still don't have televisions. My neighbors were sitting out on their porch last night because they don't have a television and the air was nice. And I thought, oh, sometimes I kind of miss those days, but now we're hooked on our shows, aren't we? It's like, oh, okay. The last idea I wanted to bring up was a new word I learned recently in a really fun leadership class I've been in. The word is presencing. And I can share some books about this if you're interested, because it has to do more with kind of living from a space that is, what we talk about in our visioning classes, the greater yet to be. But what if you can learn to actually live from that space in every moment and when you connect with people? So I want to share that with you. Some of the wording right now with our New Age stuff, we say, I am in the present moment. This moment is the only moment there is. I am present. Well, what if it's really more than that? What if the picture is way bigger than just that in the moment? So how can we practice the presence of spirit as a daily practice that will unite us with all the other people, that will unite us with the world out there and with each other from that space? So that's what brings me back to a spiritual connection. If we consciously work to penetrate more deeply to see the larger picture of what is and what is right here, and our connection to that, which is wholeness, then the source of our actions and what we act from and the effectiveness of the action can change dramatically. That's a big sentence. I took it out of my book. So let me break it down for you. If we step away from the moment and we step back back far enough to see the fullness and the depth of a big picture and really see what is, what's happening right now. And from that further back perspective, we can actually see how connected we are to the bigger story and the people around the bigger story. We can see the wholeness of it. We're not just in that tunnel vision for one detail. We can see this whole bigger picture and the fact that there's a spiritual wholeness in all of it. And then the source of our actions and how our actions unfold can be different. Does that make sense? It's a whole different idea, kind of, for some people. Joel Goldsmith had a wonderful little book titled Practicing the Presence. Love that book. Highly recommend it. But that's not what this presencing is really about, because that book was written a while ago, and we've actually evolved into a deeper, bigger perspective of the field or consciousness and what that presence is. So the meaning has changed a little bit for us. We're more aware currently in that there is a whole greater collective growth in the field of consciousness, right? Do you hear about that? We're reading it, and we're kind of really trying to teach more about that too. So to be presencing and to practice the presence is about opening to allow what is and what can be and how we move our life in that direction. Okay. Our view of what is and what is possible expands when we're in that space. It's like speaking and acting almost from a future possibility. The presence is really that divine within us. We say our prayers. We know it's there all the time. We know we're connected in oneness because we're of the essence. But what if we actually acknowledge that in this moment, there's a presence within me that I can call forth to be my presence right now in this moment as I interact with someone? And so when we do that, we're actually calling in a different action. And when we talk about it being that greater yet to be, we can actually live and speak and move and think about working from what can come, not from what is or what we think we might want to do in the future, but what if there's this thing within us that is really active in the moment? It's a verb. It's not a noun. It's a verb. There's an action of the divine expressing right now and presencing in this moment. Does it sound confusing? Does it sound odd? No. Good. It's a different way to look at it. And so it allows something different to happen. So how can we do this every day? We are collaborating, we're out there, and it sounds a little strange and stuff, but how do we do this every day as just a general person? So we might be walking into a meeting, we might be just having lunch with a friend. Ooh, what if we're at one of those wonderful holiday family experiences? Where you only get to see those people once a year. And so you might walk in, and consciously, or as you walk in, you might say to yourself, as I enter the gathering, I acknowledge all the wisdom, the strength, and guidance and presence of Spirit. It is my presence right now. And that could be your prayer as you enter the meeting, as we enter the Leadership Council meetings together, anywhere you go. Take a breath. That was a lot. I love information in detail. I think it helps us grow. So come ask me questions afterward if I need to explain anything. However, it's a whole new life for us to really take this idea of presence and spirit and let it be more active and more present, and let it be the action and the verb of what we do and how it gets to live through us. So let me end with this statement. Every day we have the opportunity to make the choice to change our lives by opening and receiving, and to make a change in someone else's life by collaborating and offering support, encouragement, knowledge, and our philosophy. Not only that, but by opening our hearts and living from the truth of oneness, we are living by inclusion. And so it is. So let's take that into prayer. We call our practitioners up. As we breathe together in this oneness, we acknowledge the one. I speak this word in first person, this prayer of affirmation, and let these words be yours. For I recognize that right here, right now, there is only one. There is one life. That life is God's life, and that life is my life now. As I accept this as the truth of my being and what I am and what is to be, I recognize and know joyfully that that which is the divine, which is all-knowing, all-receiving, all-being, all-good, all-everything, lives and moves and has its being in me and flows in this daily moment and in every moment to allow my life to be the best it can be, to offer that to me. So I open to receive. I become the conduit for the good of God to express through my life and to allow myself to be guided every day for the highest and best of myself and all those I come in contact with. My life is a blessing, and I know absolutely that the choice to be here is good, and that the connection I have to every individual in this space and in the world out there today, and family and friends, and everyone is an absolute blessing. We've all agreed to be here, and we've all agreed in love from that higher space to collaborate and to be inclusive and to be loving to the best that we can be. And that is a good thing. And so I let this day unfold with the information that's been presented. Just let it plant the seed. I can mull it over. I can think about it. I can let it grow and flourish within me to allow myself to be more presencing and present every day and with everyone I work with. And that is a good thing. For everything is evolving and spiraling now into a greater good and a greater yet to be. And I choose to be a part of that, to allow my life to grow and enhance and open, and the lives of others and this center. And I am glad for that. So with absolute joy, with absolute love, and with open to receive what is good, I say yes. And I give great blessing to this center. I give great blessing to our leaders. I give great blessing to the light and spark which is in the heart of every leader of the planet. Every teacher, every rabbi, every minister, every brother and sister, everyone out there, for we're all in this together. There is one path to that thing we call God. And we're all there. And so I say yes, and I release this word into that law, that mechanics that makes it so by the very power of the word. And so in agreement together today, as we take this in, we say, and so it is.